We were at peace in the Jefferson years, but we were not at peace in the years of the president who followed him. And the president who followed him decided to punch the British in the nose with a couple of skirmishes that were instigated by American warships in the Mediterranean. This would lead to the War of 1812. This would lead to British troops landing here. This would lead to their burning the White House and burning the Capitol building. And quite frankly, what didn't start this way almost became an effort to take back the colonies. We, of course, also attacked British troops in what is now Canada in an effort to instigate this war. So we instigated the war in the Mediterranean and in Canada, and it ends up being fought here. It was fought in the hills of Maryland, where outside Upper Marlboro, Maryland, a platoon of 50 British soldiers was marching through the town when they kidnapped 4 townsfolk and threatened to hang them. On the night before the hanging, a local militia from the town invaded the British encampment and kidnapped 6 British soldiers and threatened to hang them. Of course, the hanging of the townsfolk was postponed until this standoff could be resolved. How was it resolved? John Hodges, who was the mayor of Upper Marlboro, marched very bravely, without any armaments, without any support, directly into the British encampment, introduced himself to the captain and said, "I'm the mayor of this town. I'll make you a trade. I have a deal for you. We'll return the 6 troops. You return the 4 townsfolk." The captain said yes. The troops went back to their colleagues. The townsfolk came home. The War of 1812 was ended, not because of this, but at about the same time. The British went home. The new country was preserved. There was a tumultuous parade in Upper Marlboro. At the parade are all local, state, and federal officials, and the guest of honor, the parade marshal, is the mayor because of what he did. At the end of the parade, there's a speech from a podium, not unlike this. The one federal judge in that part of Maryland introduces the mayor and praises him to the skies. The mayor gives a speech. The crowd goes crazy. The mayor walks down off the podium when 2 strangers meet him. One of them hands him a piece of paper. The other, as he reaches to grab the paper, puts handcuffs, shackles on his 2 wrists, and they cart him away. They were both federal agents, handing him an indictment for treason, providing aid and comfort to the enemy in wartime by returning the British soldiers to the rest of their troops. What the heck is this? This is the Justice Department deciding to prosecute a genuine, if ever there was, American hero. So the trial comes. The federal judge that introduced him at the end of the parade is the one presiding over the trial. Everybody in the jury had either marched in or watched the parade. The U.S. attorney prosecuting him was also on that day, as at the end of the parade. So the U.S. attorney stands up and said, "Well, look, Your Honor, everybody knows what he did. It was an act of treason. Even though I applauded it at the time, I didn't realize it until the passage of time." Defense counsel stands up and says, "We know what he did, and everybody in this courtroom appreciated it." The judge then says, I'll show you how different the days are today, "Gentlemen of the jury," there were no ladies on juries in those days. It's a much better system today. "Gentlemen of the jury, I want you to go across the street to the local tavern where we have reserved a table for you and plenty of liquid refreshment. And when you consume the liquid refreshment, come back here and give us your verdict." At this point, the jury foreman raises his hand and says, "Your Honor, even though we would love to partake in the court's generosity at the tavern across the street, we don't have to deliberate. We already know the verdict." "You know the verdict already?" "Yes." "What is it?" "The verdict is not guilty." So, of course, everybody in the courtroom goes wild. It's a just and fair result. What was that? That was the first example of jury nullification. That was 12 farmers saying to the almighty federal government, "You see this threshold? Thou shalt not cross it if your heart is unjust."